Welcome to Reread. Today we're going over Book 1 of the Black Fleet Crisis series. This is called Before the Storm by Michael P. Q. McDowell. I remember liking it the first time. What about the second time? Well, first off, I love a K-Wing. A K-Wing bomber I thought was a nice idea. Again, you don't hear much of advancement in technology. Yet, in these books, in these Bantam books, I'm noticing they did. It seems like Del Rey was the one that went back to Y-Wings and A-Wings and B-Wings again. You know, maybe the X-Wing was a newer version, but still an X-Wing. But I like that there's new vehicles or new vehicles that basically improve upon the latter. So Y-Wings, you know, kind of going out of style. Let's get some K-Wing in there. K-Wing's kind of like a bomber too. And this is the only time they're really heavily put in a book. I don't even know if they're, I'm sure they're mentioned somewhere, but and this one they use them, and I was all for the K-Wing. I think the K-Wing is great. I like all the K-Wing action we had. One thing I did forget about, but I agree completely, was that Luke, when he leaves the academy, he puts Streen in charge. And that's what always bothered me in the New Jedi Order is Streen kind of disappears. And I thought, man, I always thought he could be in charge. And maybe through osmosis, I just remembered this. It's not that big of a deal, but he, Streen's one of his first, apprentices. So yeah, he should be one of the best Jedi Masters out there and the right person for the job. In this one though, Luke is not flying his trusty X-Wing again. That's kind of weird that people are ignoring that. He's flying an E-Wing, which is the latest, greatest technology, and he's with an R7 droid. Now we're going to find out later on where R2-D2 is and everything, but it just doesn't, that's not how Luke rolls usually. Akbar mentions that Dala is still a threat within the Empire, and I'm guessing no one told them what happened. And this, I don't know if it's a contradiction, but they talk about, because I remember the Callista trilogy came out, kind of after all these books had come out, I believe, and it's a little bit of a contradiction because they should have reported to Akbar and everyone, but this is going forward, I think. They keep mentioning that Dala is somewhere out there. Yeah, but she's happily ever after. But maybe you never trust her. Maybe it was all a ruse and they've still got one eye open for Dala. You need to, right? Bored Lando comes before General, I think it's Riken, and asks to, he wants to do something different. He gains fortunes, he loses fortunes, and he wants to do something with a purpose. What you got for me? And so he makes Lando re-enlist as a general and then gives him a job to track this vagabond ship that they've been seeing. There's been sightings throughout the galaxy, and maybe it's Drayson he's talking about. And Drayson is the one sending him on this mission to go find this vagabond ship. Now, this is the storyline that everyone remembers. I remember this one the best, and this is the one that everyone loves the best. And I think I know why. Because Lando later on, he gets 3PO and R2-D2 and Lobot, and man, it is comedy gold between all of them the entire time. This is, in my opinion, almost like the main storyline. This is the one that you really enjoy because C-3PO and R2 are funny, interacting with Lando. In fact, Lando, when he goes to get him on Luke's academy, 3PO is just so distraught, he doesn't know what he's supposed to do. And Lando goes, "You're supposed to come with me. I just talked to Luke." He's lying. But 3PO is like, "Oh, good." He's like, "What about R2? And yeah, R2 too. Yeah, I talked to Luke about that too." It's great. When C-3PO meets the, I think it's a general or captain for the first time. He's like, "Hello, I am C-3PO, human cyborg relations. I am fluent over." And the general goes, "Shut up." He goes, "Yes, sir." And he gets back behind Lobot. Great stuff. Lobot's hilarious too. Honestly, there is so much, and Lobot's the perfect person because he's got the cybernetic implants. He kind of can, he's kind of friendly with, he understands R2-D2, C-3PO, and he's kind of understanding Lando's side of things. So he's kind of the midway person. But, oh man, just all three of them, all of them together are just comedy gold. And it makes for a very interesting story. Now, this storyline has nothing to do with the overall premise of the Black Fleet Crisis. Yet still, it is the best one because Michael P. Q. McDowell flexes his muscles and says, "Hey, I can make Lando work." This is one of Lando's probably best storylines in the Bantam era for sure, and maybe overall. Just because, really, spoilers here, but nothing's going to happen. I mean, something's going to happen, but it's not going to be that big. And the thing is, though, you just are excited to see Lando interact with Lobot and 3PO and R2 and the whole gang, and you don't really care what goes on. Because honestly, not much happens in the first book, but all you care about is Lando's storyline because it's got so much humor. Meanwhile, Luke is kind of growing tired of getting called upon by everyone for help as a Jedi. That's why he kind of moves kind of retires away, tries to live as a hermit on Coruscant, but it's in the area where the Emperor's Force Storm took place. And it hasn't been, that area of Coruscant hasn't been rebuilt that much because of the Emperor's Force Storm from Dark Empire. I need to take back everything I said about Bantam books not really tying very well to each other. Man, so many of these books, and if I haven't mentioned in the past, I should have, because there's so many books that tie in and characters are impacted by other events, or they go back to talking about certain things that happened between this time and what was going on now. I love that. I love that. There's way more connections than just mentioning the other book. Remember when this happened? Which is really what I assumed Bantam was. Now, it didn't sew in storylines, take it to another level like Del Rey, but yes, they did weave in the stories quite well, and so I need to take all that back because this was just, it was great. Anyway, Luke is on Coruscant. He meets someone named Akana, and she tells him, this is the most controversial storyline, even though it didn't bother me, that, hey, I know your mother. Your mother was one of us. We're of the white current. We're not really the Force, but we kind of have mystic powers. I guess they are the Force. And she can move around undetected, and she tells Luke, I can teach you stuff. And Luke is so interested in it. He's like, yeah, I'm going to go with you because I want to find out more about my mom. Now, when he goes to see Princess Leia, his sister, and Leia goes, oh, Luke, come on. I see those people all the time. We call them, Han, what do we call them? And Han goes, mad grannies. And she's like, yeah, mad grannies. I mean, she's like, Luke, some of them aren't even our species. Some of them are younger than me. And they all claim to have slept with Darth Vader and been my mother. Like, whatever. And I like that because eventually Leia's right? The story's not going anywhere. Now, I remember on the forums a long time ago when book 1 came out, me and a bunch of other people were like, raging, like, you can't reveal Luke's mom. And Michael P. Q. McDowell or someone from Bantam got on there and said, hey guys, don't worry, it's not going to disrupt anything. You just wait. Hold those comments, hold those thoughts to the end. And that's immediately when I said, it's not going to be his mom. It's not going to be his mom. That's what it is. So I was quiet and I was right later on. But for right now, he's jumping off on he's trying to find Akana, find her people. That's what he's trying to do. And there's not that much of Luke in the storyline after this. By the way, Luke feels totally normal as opposed to Crystal Star in Planet of Twilight even. He and Han have a great brother-in-law talk, which I thought was really good. There's a lot of good dialogue there. Han is written well. Admiral Akbar is written fantastically in this series. Probably the best Admiral Akbar's ever been. And then I should go to Leia's story. Leia is negotiating with someone called Neil Spar. I like this too. I really like this storyline. I thought it was interesting because Neil Spar is basically manipulating her. We know that from the reader's point of view, but we don't know how he's trying to do it. And at the end, it's revealed he pretends that Leia held his, people captive on Coruscant and were planning to invade his universe. But in reality, Neil Spar just wants to spark a war or spark a debate, spark outrage in the New Republic, so that there'll be hesitance to attack him while he goes after all the neighboring planets. They're kind of mimicking Hitler here. He's kind of he wants to take over a few of the planets that are right next to him, but he doesn't want to get slapped by the New Republic. These are not New Republic planets either. They're just regular planets that were actually still registered under the Empire, and he's just slowly taking them. But Neil Spar is an excellent villain. It flashes back to, I think, the Battle of Endor, when the Empire's kind of running amok, and they have a shipbuilding site in that cluster of planets where the Yevithan, how you pronounce their name, are. And immediately when things start going to chaos, Neil Spar walks up to the bridge. He pops up one of his Wolverine claws, like his big claw there, and slashes the guy's neck or slashes him from stem to stern. I can't remember what it was, but it immediately kills him. And they've been planning this takeover for a long time, and now they have a lot of heavy-hitting Star Destroyers and maybe even a Super Star Destroyer too. But anyway, this whole sparring contest happens between him and Leia. Leia thinks, and this is the other thing, everyone's so upset. Leia was blinded. How did she not know? Because Drayson and Akbar are going, hey, we don't trust this Neil Spar. You shouldn't trust him. And she's like, no, we should be trusting. Peace, peace, peace. And then it blew up in her face. Why didn't she know? Well, I think a few things. Right now, she's having trouble with her family. Luke won't help her. She's asking Luke to help. Luke wisely says, no, I cannot discipline your kids. That will demean you and Han, and you'll be relying on me for everything. You're stronger than this, Leia. Well, Leia is misinterpreting Luke's, and she's mad at Luke But she's like, okay, fine. Well, then she gets in stubborn mode. She's like, if I'm good at everything, then I will force this peace treaty with Nil Spar. And so I argue, and even Han makes a comment later on about this, about, she's kind of, well, who is this woman, that I married? Why is she acting different? Because she's kind of aggravated with Luke, and they established that at the beginning, and now she feels like, well, I'm going to just force something to happen then. So she's trying to force a peace agreement in her head with Nil Spar, even though she's ignoring all the obvious warning signs. She thinks, well, maybe this is what he means by willpower. No, it's not. And I kind of disagree with people who say, well, Leia was not herself. Leia was not herself, that's true. But I believe the story sets it up that Leia is trying to learn and understand what Luke is trying to say. Because obviously in the end of the book, or actually by book 2, she's kind of reassessing her thoughts and taking command like Luke always told her she could. Anyway, Before the Storm, excellent, excellent, excellent. Can't wait to review book 2 next time.